I need more time, I need more time. Sis, what are you, Flavor Flav? Like, put a clock around your neck and call it a day. Hey guys, welcome to welcome back to my channel. We are back yet again another week, and we will be reviewing the finale episode, episode 12 of season 4, Ready to Love. So without further ado, let's get into the video. If you remember, last week's episode ended with Tommy telling everyone that this week they will have to meet each other's families. So the episode opens up with Vernicio, who is introducing Joelle to her family, which consists of her mom, her oldest daughter, and her stepdad. Her mom was not playing around, because before his butt could even hit the seat, the questions started. And I mean, what are your intentions with my daughter? Do you think you're the right person for her? And then her dad asked, do you think you can deal with her attitude? So then he was able to finally chime in and say that he has found that she's as beautiful on the outside as she is on the inside. And so he is okay with allowing her to be herself, as long as they can work out their problems. Of course, it's Joelle, so he didn't say it in so many words. And then afterwards, her daughter asked him about how he would feel about taking on 3 extra kids, because remember, he has 2 of his own. And of course, he comforted her and let her know that that's no problem for him. And so he flipped that question and asked the family how would they feel about taking in him, knowing that he also has 2 daughters. And the vibe was very good. The stepdad said, you know, they're a big family already and they're open to other people. And once he becomes a part of a family, similarly, the kids will become a part of the family. So it's looking very, very good for Vernicio and Joelle if everything continues on this path, because the families have vibed really well. It was a good meeting. Vernicio's daughter actually said this is the most she's seen her mom smile and talk about someone. So she's all systems go. She really likes having Joelle around. So next we have Liz, who is introducing Jason to her family. And as soon as Jason enters, because everyone was sitting around a table, he says, y'all have prayed already? And so when he comes in, he sits down, he holds everyone holds each other's hands, and then he says, let us pray. Now, I like Jason as a person based on what we've seen, and I like Liz. But there's something just very off about Jason in terms of, I feel as though he adjusts himself based on who he is with. So I don't feel like we have seen Jason's true personality, because before with Cairo, or anyone else for that matter, when have we ever seen Jason initiate prayer or interested in prayer? I mean, it just felt like he was putting on a persona just because he knows that Liz is spiritual, and you know, by extension, her family is also spiritual. So I did feel like that was a bit but maybe I'm reading too much into it. That was just my own personal feeling about the whole let us pray situation with Jason. But after that, one of her sisters actually asked him what is his favorite scripture. And I did think that it was good that even if he isn't as spiritual as he's pretending to be, he was able to say what his favorite scripture was and why. And so, of course, the whole family bought into it. So he scored major points with not just Liz, but her family for being able to, I guess, show his spiritual side. So at this point, they asked him if he is secure with Liz, and then he says yes, he is seeing everything he needs to see in her. So as we know, Liz is over there just beaming, and in her confessional, she's telling us how giddy she feels inside. She is just all too happy, and he made a really great impression on the family. So as far as great family meetings go, Jason really did make a good impression, and I'm hoping that he can live up to the impression that he has given. After that date, the next date we saw was Chris and Amber, and Chris is introducing Amber to his family, which consists of his 2 brothers. So Amber sits down, and right away Keenan goes, so I have a question. You're 31 years old, you know, life is going good, things are working out well for you, you have a good job and you're put together. Why has no one wrapped you up yet? Is it because you have a character flaw that, you know, you're hiding? Something to that effect. She answered it very well. She handled herself well and explained that, you know, the question is, why hasn't she allowed anyone to wrap her up with? As in, she made it clear that it was a choice, not as though something is wrong with her and that's the reason why she's not married. I thought the way he phrased the question to be a little bit insulting. He could have asked it in a better way, to just be like, oh, do you not want to be married, or so and so and so. But I guess he was trying to see how she would handle herself. And he also did mention that he is a bit protective because there was Naya from last season with the situation with Chris where she said she was genuine and all of this, and then in the end she left him and broke his heart, according to his brother. So then to defend herself, she just said, well, you know, she does see herself as a genuine person, she's being honest and so on, and he just needs to give her the chance so that her actions can prove what she is saying right now, because of course it's not fair for her to pay for somebody else's sin. I do agree with him in certain aspects, in terms of I don't think Amber is as genuine as she projects herself to be, but I don't think she means Chris any harm either. So it started off a bit rocky, but as she was able to handle herself and show that she, you know, she's confident and can speak well, things flowed a bit better. And in the end, they ended up having drinks, cheersing together. So I would say overall, the meeting was not horrible. It went okay because she was able to prove herself. If not for nothing else, Amber is cool, calm, and collected because she didn't really even flinch when he started bringing her all that heat. Cairo was the next person to invite AJ to meet her family, and that was her mom and one of her closest friends, Corey. And so out the gate, as soon as Corey saw AJ, they sat at a table together, and she was just like, so what is it that you think that Cairo wants? And AJ was like, oh, I think we have similar interests. And I mean, for me, I think AJ is very lackluster and nonchalant with his answers. If someone's family member asks you, what do you think that their, you know, sister or brother or daughter likes or wants, I would think there would be a little bit more energy to kind of sell yourself. He was just like, oh, I think we have similar interests. Yeah, okay. And what else? What else, sir? What else? So, I mean, he already started out kind of bad. After that, mom was just like rapid fire. What do you like for fun? Are you close with your mom? Are you this? Are you that? She was hitting him with questions left, right, and center. So AJ being AJ was just telling us in confessional that, oh, he feels like he's being interrogated on first 48. And I'm just like, because he doesn't give much, this is one scenario where I don't mind where someone is kind of coming at him like he's being interrogated, because I feel like that's the only way you get information out of AJ, because he's very na. Silence. You have to ask him something else for it to kind of move on, for the conversation to flow. He's a bit boring, eh? I'm just like, he's just dull, just there. So then mom asks, well, AJ, well, if you and Cairo were supposed to be together, what would be your next step, like after you guys got together? AJ looked at this woman, this grown woman with her daughter sitting across from her, and said, well, to be honest, I don't know. Get out, go home. I'm really wondering, like, why are you here? Why are you here? If you want to be with somebody so bad, because it seems like he wants to be with Cairo so bad, but you don't have any idea what it looks like after the show ends, after you guys have decided to be with each other. I mean, even as something as simple as to say, well, you know, we're going to keep dating and getting to know each other. Nothing. Just, well, you know, to be honest, I don't know. Sir, get out. Get up and get out. Why are you here? I was so like, no, you're not ready. You're clearly not ready. Because if you can't even come up with the basic answer of, you know, continue to get to know her or whatever, he's just sitting down there like a potato. Like, he irritates me. He doesn't even try. It's as though, okay, I'm AJ, I look the way I look, and this is it. What you see is what you get. There's just no effort, no nothing. The level of nonchalance, that's what it is for me. He's not giving what he's supposed to give. No. Right there and then, they started discussing him at the table, which I thought to be a bit weird. Usually people wait for the person to leave and then they talk amongst themselves. So Kyra's mom was just like, oh, she likes him in terms of he seems to have emotional intelligence. I'm looking around like, Miss, where did you see that? Because I didn't get that like, no, from just this date in isolation, I didn't get that at all. I got the opposite. But okay, you saw emotional intelligence. And then Corey, the friend, was just like, nah, he's She thinks, first of all, that his representative hasn't met like who he actually is. So I guess she felt like he wasn't being forthcoming, he wasn't being himself. And that's the impression I got. Like, if I didn't know him, if I wasn't watching this whole process, and this was the date I was experiencing in isolation as one of her friends, as one of her family members, I would have been looking like, why did you bring this guy to my house? Like, he wasn't even trying. And that's basically what the friend said. And so she was just like, right now, she's not seeing the spark. She's not seeing the fire. It seems like, you know, it's just kind of like meh. And I agree. I agree. It just seems like he just wants to win, but he has no idea what it may look like, between him not knowing what the relationship looks like after this process ends, and him also being a bit confused earlier as to what he wanted. Can't even say what she wants. Like, it doesn't seem like he really knows much about her. It doesn't seem like he really wants to get to know her beyond this process. It's kind of like, oh, this is a notch on my belt. I messed up in the past, but I was able to fix it, and now, you know, she likes me. Next, we have Amber, who introduces Chris to her family as well as a family friend, and they're all sitting at what looks like to be a bit of a dinner. And so the dad asks Chris, how many relationships, like how many serious relationships have you been in? And Chris says 4. So this definitely soured the mood, because everybody was kind of looking at him like, 4? Like, that sounds a bit excessive. I mean, they are big people in their like mid to late 30s to 40s. So I don't know if that's odd for people that age. But if you were in your 20s, that would be a bit much. So like for people like me, that is a bit much. But I don't think that's weird for people in their 40s, late 30s. So, but anyway, it kind of soured the mood. So then after, the sister, I believe it was either her sister or her friend. I believe it was the sister who asked, so Amber does have the tendency to kind of overwork or be more focused on work. How would you help her to kind of have that balance of making sure that she takes care of herself? And Chris, being Chris, he went to, oh, you know, she's the goddess queen, and I would make sure she doesn't do anything to kind of have a nervous breakdown, or, you know, a very generic answer, but I guess it was what they needed to hear, because that kind of softened up the mood. And the sister really appreciated that he said that, and said that that's important to them, that they have somebody who has her genuine interest at heart, or her mental health at heart. And so that led into a better conversation. We didn't see much more of Amber's date, because simultaneously we were seeing Joel, who invited Vernicio to meet his family, which consists of his 2 sisters, Bebe and Boda. Listen, this family, and listen, Joel and Vernicio are 2 peas in a pod, because I've never seen such country people in my life. Bebe and Boda. Okay, those are their names, Bebe and Boda. But I digress. So they were really nice, irrespective of the countryness, and they seemed to really embrace Vernicio. They asked her a few questions, but overall the meeting went well. So once she left, after they asked her like how she felt about like 5 kids being in the family and so on, they had an in-depth conversation about what she would want, or what is a problem and what is not a problem. So after she left, then they started having a conversation with Joel, and Bebe actually asked Joel like, or not so much asked, but she was saying that Vernicio seems to like him quite a lot. So he actually confirmed this and said, you know, I do think she does like me, what seems to be a lot for the, considering the time span that we've known each other. So even though Joel is moving with the flow right now to kind of move towards both of them being a couple at the end, I am very, very doubtful. I could be wrong, but I'm very, very doubtful that comes the reunion, or after the reunion, that these 2 will be together, because more often than not, Joel is expressing doubt. And if you really like someone, do you really care if they like you more than you like them? The fact that that's something that he's picked up on, and he didn't say it like in a way like, oh, I'm happy about this. He kind of said it like, oh, I find it weird that she likes me so much. So I don't think he necessarily likes her as much as he's leading on. I think he wants to win. And I would be very, very shocked if these 2 are still together by the reunion. However, she's completely in bliss. So completely in bliss, completely unaware, and she thinks everything is going great. And to be honest, from the looks of things, if we're only paying attention to the words coming out of everybody's mouth, then everything is fine. But judging from how Joel has his reaction to certain things, I don't think everything is as peachy as it seems. After that, we see Jason, who introduces Liz to his family member, which is his mom, Miss Monica. So as soon as Liz comes in, they sit at the table and they start talking, and Miss Monica says right away she wants to get into asking Liz about finances and what are her take, or what is her take on finances. So Liz was able to handle herself eloquently, and she explained that she's no stranger to managing money, because in her history throughout her life she has both had prosperity as well as she has been on the poorer side of things, or had to manage or ration what she had. So Miss Monica then asks Liz, do you know how to lead him without letting him know that he's actually being led by you? So Liz explains that, she's never been married before, so she doesn't have any experience in that, but she's confident that, God will lead her and she'll be able to do so as his wife or moving forward in their relationship. Honestly, Miss Monica was really sweet. She was not off-putting. She didn't have any defenses up. I think this was probably one of the better family meetings because it felt very conversational. It didn't feel like, oh, you're meeting someone's mom and there's just a lot of nervous vibes. No, she was very relaxed. She came across like that sweet grandmother that you would love to visit, and she'd probably give you cookies. So it was very relaxed, very sweet, and I think this is probably one of the best family meetings thus far. I think Miss Monica likes Liz. Liz loves Jason, as we know, and everything went really well. Things are really looking great for Liz and Jason. They might just prove us wrong with this age thing, because things are going really well between them, and it seems like it's genuinely mutual at this point. So at the same time, while we're seeing Liz and Jason and his mom, we're seeing clips of Cairo, AJ, and AJ's mom. And I want to say at first it seemed like such a contrast, because at first sight, AJ's mom does not come off welcoming. She kind of sat down, her face, she looked very serious. I thought she was going to be quite mean, but turns out she wasn't as mean as I thought she would be. She was quite eloquent. She spoke very well, and she actually started out by letting Cairo know that AJ has a habit. I don't know why, but she highlighted this. I guess she just wants to let her son, or let someone who's going to date her son, know right away what they're getting into. So she let Cairo know that he has a habit of getting engaged in something, and then just as easily as he gets engaged, he gets disengaged. And she mentioned like a few projects that he would have been with, like teaching himself piano and so on. So her concern was that this relationship was not going to be something that he got engaged in and then it would just, okay, he's disengaged. What she wants to know was, are they both serious? Are they both actually genuine about being ready to move forward? So Cairo actually chimed in to say that they did start off a bit rocky, but they're now at a position where both of them are genuinely trying to get to know each other. So being a mom, of course, she wants to know what made it rocky. And of course, Cairo went back into their history to say they dated before the show. What happened? We already know that story. And mom was actually on Cairo's side. To be quite honest, the mom sees a bit more concern that AJ was going to break Cairo's heart, because she actually said that, I want you to take care of her heart. She said that to AJ, and I think that's another red flag, because if somebody's mom is more concerned with your well-being than their own son, it means that she knows what her son is capable of. She's been around long enough to see how he handles his relationship, and the fact that she's kind of, essentially she was warning her without warning her, because she's making sure to tell her what she's getting into, and then she says to him, I just want you to take care of her heart. So for me, I would be running. I would be faster than a bird, like out of here. That's it. Like with AJ's nonchalance and not knowing what he wants, and then his mom is literally reaffirming it, I don't think we need to go any further with this relationship. He needs to go one side and work on himself, and she needs to go somewhere else and figure out how to be decisive, because she is the most indecisive person I've ever seen on any reality show ever. So after the date, in her confessional, of course, she comes up to say she's still unsure, she's still having trouble deciding, she needs more time. Okay, Cairo, take all the time you need. I believe Cairo will be 80, 85, 90, 95, still talking about she needs more time. I understand everybody needs time to process what they want, but it's been weeks. I feel like if you know you don't want somebody, just come out and say that. She's probably, I think at this point, she's just saying she needs more time because she knows she's not interested, but is a bit afraid to just come out and say no, because then, of course, that just ends everything. But it would be better if she says that, because now she's just wasting her time and his time. And at this point, it's a bit embarrassing for him, I think, and frustrating for us and for everybody else who is engaged. Like, step aside, sis, step aside. Finally, for the first time in the episode, we see Tommy, and he says, well, you know, it's time for the couples to decide. They need to set a time and a place to meet. And at that time and place, they will decide, do we want to be a committed couple? Do we want to move forward in a relationship? Or are we going to go our separate ways? So then we start seeing little clips of all the couples meeting up with each other. We see Cairo and AJ at first, and she looks great as usual coming in, and he was actually serenading her on the piano, playing a song for her, which I thought was quite lovely. Then we saw Vernicio and Joelle, who met up by the lake. Great vibe. She looked great walking towards him as well. He was approaching. I don't know about those shorts, but okay, he at least brought some flowers with him. And then we saw Amber, who approached Chris. I don't know why they put Amber and Chris in what looks like the desert or the jungle, down in the deep sand deserts, but okay. That's where they met up, on a little wooden bench. And then we saw Jason and Liz, who also met up at some sort of lake, outdoorsy type of vibe, and they were just happy to see each other. So long story short, Jason let Liz know that he chose her, and he was just like, it's decision time. And Liz was just looking at him like, sir, I don't need no time to make no decision. She was like, of course I choose you, baby. She was just so elated. Of course, they were hugging and kissing after that because they agreed, they have chosen each other. So they have decided to move forward in a committed relationship, because Jason was like, we're together now. Like, you're mine now, you know? So Liz is just so happy. Liz was screaming, Mama, I finally got a man and I'm going to bring him home. So let's hope to God that they're still together by the time the reunion comes around. Same thing for Amber and Chris. They both chose each other. Amber said, like, she told him, like, she feels like with him, she can be herself. It flows easily. She doesn't have to pretend. And for that reason, she's choosing him. Chris is ready to dash away the celibacy. Like, so I don't know how serious he was about that. And then, of course, we have Joelle and Vernicio, and Joelle says he chose Vernicio, and Vernicio is literally ready to get married. Vernicio was like, I can definitely see Joelle as my husband. I think we're the missing puzzles from each other's life. My children love him. You know, she's just ready to be all up and through his life. He's not as, I don't believe he was as expressive or as ecstatic as she was. But in the moment, he did say he chose her, and he's ready to see where it goes. Because one thing in their commentaries, when she was speaking, it was very future tense. Like, I'm excited to get married. I'm excited to be together. Like, her future tense was very secure. Whereas when he came in his confessional, he was just like, oh, he's excited to see where things go. Like, take things slow and see how it goes. That's what he said. That doesn't sound like, oh, this is somebody I want to be with long term. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's feeling like things are moving a bit too fast for him, because every step of the way, that has been a consistent complaint of his. So I highly doubt these two will be together at the reunion, but let's wait and see what happens. But I called it. And of course, AJ and Cairo, they were the last couple to decide, and as we know, the most problematic couple. And he chose her off rip and let her know that I want to be with you and yada yada yada. And she took forever, and then she was just like, oh, you know, we came off from a rocky start, and I appreciate you and all of these things. And once she started with all the praises, I knew it was not gonna go well, because after that she started with what I seem to think are fake tears. Sis was like, and you know, I don't want you to think that I don't appreciate you or that I'm taking you for granted, and that, but it's just that, okay, Kyra, let's just wrap this up in a nice little sentence. She just was like, okay, she needs more time. She feels like they like each other enough, but she doesn't feel like they don't know each other well enough to continue dating, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If the whole point of the process is to date each other, get to know each other, and at the end, you're not required to get married. She's acting like they're going to get married at the end. They're just saying commit to each other exclusively to be like, okay, we're exclusive, let's continue dating. So if your complaint is that you and him don't know each other well enough, then continue dating so that you can get to know him well enough. I feel like she's just not being honest. And I guess this is what Jason was talking about when he said she's not being genuine. She just needs to come out and just say, I'm not interested, or I like you, but not enough. Like, I'm just not that into you. Because now she's just annoying. Like, get off my screen. I need more time. I need more time. Sis, what? Are you Flavor Flav? Like, put a clock around your neck and call it a day. Because I don't know how much time does she need. Like, do you want to date him or not? It's real simple. So in the end, she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna choose Cairo because I need to. If you know, it's important to choose yourself rather than to be forced into a decision. All right, yada, get off the screen. Get off the screen, please." So they're the only couple who didn't choose each other or did not have a mutual understanding. So of course, AJ in his confessional said he felt some type of way because after everything, and remember her almost going home and him choosing to let her stay, of course he feels some type of way, but he does not regret his decision because he would have rather make the decision and it turned out the way it did than for him not to make it and be wondering. So that was the end of the episode, guys. I must say this finale was really not doing very much. It didn't really give much. I mean, everything that happened, it was pretty much predictable. Like, everything that we thought would happen pretty much happened. But aside from that, nothing overly interesting really happened. It was kind of a very dry finale. But next week, honey, next week the reunion looks like it's gonna make up for everything that we needed to have had from this episode that we didn't get. The reunion is gonna give that to us because in the clips that we see at the end of this episode, it starts out with Ron telling Amber, like, or saying out at the reunion that, you know, me and Amber, we went on a lot of dates. And Amber was just over there like, no, sir, it wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be me, not this Amber. We didn't go on many dates. So obviously they're gonna have some disagreements. One of them is not being honest, and I'm willing to bet that person is Amber. Then we see Ida, who is saying to someone that they didn't agree to make any announcements. So I'm guessing Ida has made a connection with one of these guys who were there earlier and maybe got eliminated, and she didn't want the information out there and maybe he let it slip. So we're gonna find out, like, who did Ida connect with after. Then we see Tommy saying to someone, which I assume is David. They did show a clip of David, but you know how these producers are. They edit to make you feel like something's gonna happen. But he said to David, I'm assuming, in my 4 seasons of this show, never have I seen someone speak to a woman the way you did. And I'm willing to bet that's about the way David dealt with Liz when he was about to be eliminated. And I'm here for it because somebody needs to tell him, because he is grossly disillusioned and he doesn't like correction. So I'm willing to bet he's gonna flare up on Tommy for sure. Then we see Tommy asking AJ yet again, which of these 2 ladies does he want to be with, and if it's anything to do with what we've seen thus far. I'm guessing that's going to be between Kyra and Alexis, because obviously he can't hear the no that keeps coming out of Kyra's mouth because she's the most indecisive person ever, and Alexis just needs to take the hints. Like, if he wanted you, he would have been told you. A whole season went and he still chose somebody else over you every single time. I think it's time to just let sleeping dogs lie, and whoever is together stays together, and who is not, just not. And we don't need any more explanations from Kyra regarding Jason. We don't need any more words or confrontation from Alexis. Please, please, don't do it. We know an episode is not an episode unless Alexis confronts somebody over something that offended her at some time, at some place. So it seems like she's going to be doing that to Kyra this time around, because Alexis just, I don't know, she's super confrontational. So this reunion is about to give us what we need and fill in all the boring gaps of this season finale, and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. So please, guys, until next week, leave in the comments for me below if you're happy with the results of the show. Did all the couples that you thought were going to end up together? Are the couples that didn't end up together the couple that you thought were not going to end up together? Or did you think Kyra and AJ would actually work things out? What are you expecting for the big reunion next week? And until then,